While we're getting set up, I'm just going to thank our communication faculty who not only engaged in this work, but were also willing to come in on Flex Day and give us this panel. We are going to do this as a series of questions. So I'm just going to hand it over to the comm folks, and they're going to introduce themselves, their name, and which college they're at.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Daniel DeVere. I'm the full-time communications professor at Laney College.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Fowler, and I'm the full-time faculty at College of Alameda.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maha Jacobs. I'm a full-time faculty at Berkeley City College.
Good morning, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Mariella Miranda Tanning. I'm Dr. Tanning. And I want to welcome all of you here and thank you because you're about to hear about our experience. Thank you.
And I wanted to check, are we able to get Hilary online on Zoom?
We do have a voice note from Hilary that will play of her experiences at the end.
Perfect.
But Hilary Altman from Merritt College, full-time faculty. She also participated in the development of this presentation and panel and all of our discussions.
Yes.
All right, so the first question, and I'm just going to hand it out and you all can jump in. Before this collaboration began, what were some of the differences across our colleges you knew you would have to navigate?
Well, several important things are that at each of our 4 departments, there are some different unique communications courses that we offer that are not necessarily offered at the other 3. So we knew we wanted to coordinate and discuss that and see where our similarities are and being able to offer each, maybe having each department offer more courses. And we also had some variations in our course outlines of record for some of our courses, and we wanted to discuss those and compare and align. And then, of course, we have been discussing our various AATs, our various transfer degrees, and especially with the merger with Laney and Merritt, looking how to align any differences.
Yeah, I think a lot of this work really started with Common Course numbering. Communication had 2 courses in phase 1 and 2, so we began that work early on, and that was really the first time that a lot of us really met consistently across the district. I know there's other disciplines that do it all the time, but for various reasons, a lot of logistics and time issues, we hadn't really consistently met. So I didn't really know everybody well. I knew of them or had been on emails with them, so kind of learning what each person had to offer, what they were teaching, what their experience and background was. And also each campus had a different number of full-timers. I'm the only full-timer at College of Alameda. Both Merritt and Laney had 2, so you know, I knew that there were sort of just different structures in each department.
Oh, I just want to say that I agree with both of you, but also adding something that is important, which is that each of these schools have their own structure and histories and priorities, and that's something that we also acknowledge throughout the process, our differences.
Thank you. I would just agree with everyone, but I also close it. Okay. I'm going to eat the mic. Okay, yes. So more than just the differences of structure and classes we also have to overcome one cultural obstacle that is embedded in our society, is that we all work on silos and we all are competitive. And so from the get-go, our goal is not to compete, our goal is to cooperate and come up with what would be important and beneficial for our students. So that was the main focus for us, is how do we do what we need to do to benefit our students.
Thank you.
So that moving beyond the cultural silos, it sounds like it's very difficult work. So I'm thinking that it probably wasn't always easy to have these conversations, but what helped you move from advocating for my college or my department towards thinking about what made sense for students across the district?
I would like to say that something that motivated us to move from that space is my college, is my style, is my department, was that we share goals. All of us focus on the student center. What really benefits our students? What really benefits to the district? How we're going to be working together? So I would say share goals for sure, willingness to work together, and effective listening, and adaptability. And I would like to also add something. As you can see, there is diversity here, not only in the classroom settings. You see, I'm an immigrant, right? So diversity also enrich it in a different ways, and sometimes something that we tend to underestimate, but also it can really enrich us. I will say that.
I agree. I also would like to add the fact that just respecting each other, even though we have goals, we also have relationship goals. So we're not just there for the task, but we also appreciate one another and respect our differences. Many people think that differences are weaknesses. Actually, difference is strengths, because each one of us brought their own experiences into the work, and respecting one another's differences and working with them and negotiating and seeing how we can best come up with the best solution for our students is what helped us overcome my department to what would benefit the students.
And I would just add that I think for me, one of the things that helped me move past my college to, our colleges and district was sort of some of the frustrations that we run into in the past that was a result of very different course outlines of records between the four of us. For example, some of us had our classes pass, no pass. Some of us had letter grade only, so I'd always get students coming to me saying, well, at this college it's pass, no pass, it's not at your college. So thinking back to some of those moments of frustration for students really helped me to see beyond my own college.
Yeah, I agree 100% what Jennifer just said, absolutely. And on the theme of a student-centered approach to what we're doing here, also, as Chancellor Gilkerson pointed out earlier, to the students, our district should be a seamless experience. Wherever they are, wherever they're going, they're looking for a consistency and a stability that they can depend on. And I think that's a huge part of the answer to this question for me, certainly, is that remembering that our collaboration ultimately leads to a coordination that is very beneficial to the students. That's my add to that.
Were there decisions that required more than one conversation? So how did you know when to keep talking rather than pushing towards a decision too quickly? I'm thinking maybe when there were competing priorities, kind of what helped you to this group to drive that decision?
I can, there's one thing I would say to that too, is that we actually used principles from one of the courses that we often teach, which is small group communication. And a huge part of that is active listening to different perspectives. That helped us out a great deal. We know how to actively listen, of course. We teach that to our students. We use those principles in our meetings, in our discourse, to best effect. And I would say that following on from that, when you actively listen, it allows you to, and certainly with us, utilize creative thinking, brainstorming, and then being able to critically assess what we came up with. And to that effect, we utilized outside assistance such as our articulation officers and curriculum experts to inform that analysis. So using those approaches helped us out a great deal.
But I would like to add something else. Thank you very much for saying that, Daniel. Is that was also according to the task. Sometimes it was a centralized or decentralized work dynamic where someone will be leading, that particular task. And all of us were trying to work and collaborate, and we use Google Doc, sharing thoughts. Once again, it's our common goals that really help us to collaborate together.
I want to add an example of the pass, no pass, and grade. So we had good discussions about that because some of us thought pass, no pass is a good thing for students And some of us were like, no, I think grade is the better option for everyone. And so we had a lot of discussions about that. And we went out and did our research looking at four-year universities, the CSU and UC, and what their requirements are. And through that discussion and exploring and coming back and talking about it and thinking about how would that benefit our students, we ended up changing to just grade from pass, no pass. And so going through the obstacles is more than just staying in one lane and trying to prove ourselves to be in the right, but actually being open-minded and accepting that I'm gonna be wrong. And we just move with it.
Last thing I'll add on to that is that was a conversation that required us to sort of pause and come back for another meeting because we felt like we didn't have the data and the information that we needed to make a good decision. So I just recommend when you're having those curriculum discussions, if you do feel like you're sort of talking in circles and are stuck, come back to it and bring the information that you need.
Yeah. So it sounds like this is not something that the group experienced, but what advice would you offer disciplines where one or more colleagues are unwilling to collaborate? How can the group continue making progress?
No one wants to answer that one first.
Sorry.
Well, we're not here to teach you how you're going to be working together. I think that would be a big responsibility. But certainly, as my colleagues already shared, you need to focus that you're going to be working with faculty who actually are part of the same discipline. And guess what? It can be fun. We can talk about the same thing, the same discourses, the same interest. So it's not only about common goals, but also common interest in knowledge. So it can be very interesting. We also build relationship. This is an interpersonal dynamic. When my dean told me that we have to be working with the other campuses, I thought, oh my God, that's going to be very interesting, right? And as you already observed, she said that some of us been working more years, less years. Our wonderful Maha, she's still in the process of tenure, right? Exactly, I just completed with Daniel. So all those differences are also very important to observe because some of you have much more experience than the other ones. Share it. Maybe you're the one leading it. Another thing that is very important is flexibility, understanding that maybe there is miscommunication, maybe it's not clear enough, and there's nothing wrong with being wrong and not being clear.
It's kind of hard to imagine that as instructors and faculty that we're not coming into this career with us being teachers at heart and wanting the best for the people we're teaching. And so I can't imagine a faculty that would say, well, I don't want to cooperate with anyone. I don't want to do this work. And so if that happens, the one thing I would ask is why? Right? Why would the faculty feel like they don't want to cooperate? Maybe they had an experience that was not successful. Maybe they have some grievance. And so before we even go to try to figure out, you have to cooperate in this, maybe we can have a conversation about how do we envision our cooperation? Is there anything that might stop us? How can we support one another? At the end of the day, we're all humans. We've been through experiences. And sometimes we get discouraged. Sometimes we kind of lose the vision and imagining what we can do for our students. And so if one of our faculty members is at that point, the rest of the group could be that support, that could be the ball that collects their thoughts and try to work things out so that they can come back with a renewed vision, with new energy. At the end of the day, we are not just faculty teaching students, but we are faculty cooperating with one another, supporting one another. And that relationship part is very important.
I'd add to that what Maha just said, that it is very helpful to understand things from everyone's perspective. We do have a variety of perspectives, and it's like, Maha and Mariella just earned their tenure. Hilary has been here for a very long time. So everybody's got kind of different perspectives on what it means to be collaborating, what we're doing together. But those perspectives add to our experiences. That's really the thing, because that group work really ultimately helps us by having different perspectives involved as opposed to just one. So oftentimes people would contribute something that might never have been contributed without a wider scope of viewpoints. But another thing I think that really helps in general, this is something we teach in interpersonal communication, group communication, is to understand what someone's reasons might be. If there's a reason why they don't want to proceed in a particular way, understanding what those reasons are can yield a really great solution and actually be beneficial, and actually everyone could kind of learn something, because there might be a reason why someone is hesitant about something, and they just it's never discovered if people don't give them the space to share that. So that's actually helpful when there's discussion about differences of opinion, maybe not wanting to proceed with something, explore it.
Yeah, and I just add that if there's somebody that's not willing to participate, I would just sort of take a look at that individual, look at their background and experience, and really just try to tap into their strengths. So this might have been somebody that had been on curriculum committee for many years. So figuring out a way to meet them where they're at, to tap into their expertise in a way that might open up their ability to participate.
So where do you see opportunities for communication faculty to collaborate next, without assuming every college needs to do everything the same way?
I would like to say something. I have the opportunity to visit Berkeley City College the other day. I used to teach there. And now they have a new building. And the first thing that came to my mind was Maha, right? And how we're gonna be collaborating together. They have wonderful space. We're gonna have a communication lab, how we can collaborate together, how we can benefit our students. So I saw it as an opportunity, as a possibility, rather than who's gonna be competing, because all of us are just such a wonderful contribution for the district.
We have a new building and a new communication lab and a vision that working together through the district, the communication faculty, we might have students coming from different colleges to our comm lab. We might have a forensic team. We might win awards for Peralta District College. The possibilities are endless. We can coordinate our classes, so students never have to strain which college they need to go to take a particular class. We could do a lot of things together. The idea is to just keep an open mind, have an adventure type of spirit. Like, we're gonna try this and see if it works, and can we improve this, and can we work together in this? And as long as we keep an open mind and be courageous enough to take risks and speak the truth when we need to speak the truth, I think we should be okay.
I sort of just again want to emphasize, we're saying that we had a wonderful experience, and we absolutely did, but there were definitely moments that we didn't agree on certain things. And some of the things that I think we'll work on next, we are trying to get a meeting on the calendar, but we're all very busy. So I feel like we're looking out until like week 4 or 5 of the semester now, to talk about coordinating scheduling across our colleges for our courses. And again, like, I know some of you are already doing this, right? Like, you meet with your other biology folks and you coordinate the schedule, but historically we hadn't really done that in comm, or if we did it, it was maybe with 1 college or 2 colleges. So it doesn't make sense, for example, maybe to offer 3 sections of Comm 19 fall semester. Maybe we do 1 in fall, 2 in spring, and start to have those conversations, because it really benefits students when we're not oversaturating sections or courses. And I mean, that's going to be a tough conversation, right? We have our favorite courses we like to teach, and so teaches this, but really looking at the larger picture is beneficial.
ask another question. Sorry. I got distracted by all the noise in the hallway. All right. So leading on to that, I think if another discipline were about to begin a difficult district-wide curriculum or scheduling conversation tomorrow, what would you tell them to do first? So if you were beginning another difficult district-wide curriculum or scheduling conversation, so what would you say to another discipline? Like, what should you start with first?
Well, one of the first things that a discipline would want to do is to get to know one another first, because we see faces across. We might meet at Zoom every now and then, but we don't really know one another. And so building that relationship, goals as well as the task goals is important. The next thing is to feel comfortable being uncomfortable. We are academics. We feel like sometimes we need to ask the intelligent questions, and sometimes we don't really say, I don't know. But I don't know is one of the best words that we can use because we learn from one another. And the third thing I would say is speak the truth. Speak the truth if you know and you're convinced that it's the truth and that you can back it up with evidence. And the last thing is say it with love. Mm-hmm. And if you follow those three paths, I think you should be okay as a discipline to make the changes that you need to make.
One thing we tended to do early on each semester last year is to have a meeting where we sort of talked about what we wanted to achieve, sort of a general semester planning meeting. And that would evolve. We would have other discussions after that, sometimes when new things would happen and we would add to it. But it was helpful in a way because we basically, it was like an early agenda forming for the semester. And that usually helped us all be on the same page with some of the more critical things we were going to need to be keeping in mind and discussing throughout the semester. So that's not a bad thing to do early on, is to have kind of at least a semester long, if not a year long, set of goals and criteria, at least major goals in mind.
Yeah, I think my suggestion is more logistical too. I think it's important to come really prepared so that you're not spending the hour kind of going over things that could have been an email. So we use Google Docs a lot, a collaborative shared document, and we kind of just kept adding to that throughout the year in our meetings so that we could go back and remember what the SLOs were at Merit for that course or at Laney for that course. And we're able to sort of put them side by side before the meeting and had a chance to kind of look at everything, because some areas were simple areas of agreement. Like I looked at the Merit College SLOs and I was like, oh, those are better. I want those. But then there were some where I, was maybe advocating more to keep certain phrases in or languaging in. So I think a shared Google Doc is really helpful and sort of like having it as like a thought dump, and then, having it to preview before meetings so that you could come prepared for discussion.
Yes, but also have to add to what you're saying is answering emails.
What a thought.
Right? So that is part of the effective communication, I would say.
Yeah. And I would like to just add on to that my predecessor in this position, Matt Goldstein, worked a lot to build the Senate presidents as a team. And the best way to do that is to gather after a meeting with some food or drink and really spend some time chatting and building those relationships as well. So, perhaps that's another thing we can start doing as we look at things, is like trying to build just, places with food, right? I always love to eat. So that is another area I think that is a great way to build teams. We're doing great on time. Yes. We're really working hard, Marla, to get us back on schedule too. But I have a couple more questions. One is, what is one thing we could accomplish together that would be difficult for any one college or department to accomplish alone? Yeah.
Well, one way to sort of look at this is to speculate on what it would have been like if we hadn't had these meetings together throughout last year. There's a number of instances where we would have been duplicating work that would have been more of just a singular view on how to do something. So we would have missed out on the sharing of minds and different experiences to make the results of the work the richest that they could be. So if it was just one department functioning by itself, it would have lacked the benefit of those kinds of experiences. And also, there were occasions where we were able to refer to specialists from different institutions in helping us with our work that we wouldn't have necessarily had access to if we were, again, just working within our own school and our own network. So the benefits of more voices and more perspectives is something that would lack in just one department or one instructor, even just working on material only by themselves.
I think I agree with you, Daniel. It's about also reaching out to the resources that we already have in campuses, the wonderful resources that the district offers as well.
I think one thing that's not possible for just one college to do without working with others is more consistency for students. So if I'm working on my course outline of record at College of Alameda, but there's, different aspects like different grading, pass, no pass, letter grade only, I might not necessarily know that. I might not spend my evenings on Maverick looking at CORs for Laney. So, really gives you that opportunity to do that. And again, when I say consistency, I'm not saying that it should be, the same at each college. We have different programs, we have unique cultures in each department, but finding the areas where it makes sense to have alignment. And it also is really helpful for adjunct faculty so that when they're going between different colleges in our district, they're not having to pull up, unique CRs that might be phrased in different ways. And so it's really helpful for adjunct faculty as well.
Maha's like,
Just one more thing. When you work with your faculty colleagues, you're actually bouncing from great minds. These are awesome people to learn from. That's all I got to say about that. I wouldn't be able to accomplish what I accomplished by myself without them.
I would say the same thing about Maha. She's awesome.
so are there other things that you wanted to share that I haven't specifically targeted on some of these questions?
I'm just reflecting about what the chancellor shared about transformation. That's one of my favorite words. I think transformation requires fundamental changes. And sometimes we need to change our old way of thinking, our old way of viewing things. We're so attached to certain things. And I really agree with you, Maha, when you say this is an adventure, right? Just like the first day of class when faculty were standing in front of strangers, right? At the end of the semester, it's so rewarding. So please have an open mind because you'll be surprised about how much wonderful faculty can enrich your life. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you. I just want to add to that in that it's not going to be a comfortable experience at the beginning. And there are many times when the tension is going to happen. And it's okay. That's what transformation is us going through these tough moments and working them out. And like Mariella said, as long as we keep an open mind, look at it as an adventure, and try the best that we can, working with one another. And it's okay to say, I don't know, and it's okay to say, Dan, I messed up this time. Somebody else needs to step in and help me. I think we should be okay. It will work out at the end. And the possibilities are endless. It's just endless. If we can work together for the benefit of our students, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish as a district.
I'd just add that it's been so refreshing to just try something different. And I think sometimes we get stuck in that loop of trying the same thing, doing the same thing. And so this experience has really encouraged us to reach out to each other, has inspired us to do that, and it feels good to just try something different for a change. So I'd say kind of just, again, like I said in the beginning, there's so many things that we're frustrated about. I know the chancellor talked about our broken systems. So really keeping that in mind and understanding that there's not going to really be a way to solve those problems if we keep doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Jennifer's great point too about the importance of doing something new. Combining that with the idea of transformation leads us to not only transformation but evolution, and so that's really a huge part of what we're talking about. Is we're evolving towards something that will be all the better for us year after year. I would say that the golden thread that you can always use in all the decisions and discussions, when it's kind of a compass point, is what do the students need? That's the thing that can lead you all the way through this transformative process to evolution, and that will ultimately be what everybody wants. Everyone here, that's what we all want. Sometimes it's difficult to articulate it with so many different particular issues and things that we need to be working on, but that is a golden thread. You can hang on to that thread. How will this benefit the students? That's the end goal. So.
But thank you, Olivia. The other thing I would like to add to what he's saying, thank you, is also how we faculty can benefit each other. And that's something that we need to observe because, as you said, Maha, there's wonderful minds. We can even share syllables, new material, artificial intelligence here, or how we're going to be working. We can have so many discussions. So please also observe that. Relationships is so important during this process to enrich our students.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super inspired, right?
Thank you so much.
As our PFT president, Jeff Sinceri, stated today at the beginning, there are many faculty-led or faculty-involved sessions today that we're talking about with this radical imagining. I think you've really gotten a lot of information here. And part of the reason we wanted to set this panel before these discussions on district discipline meetings was really so that we had an example of what can be accomplished, and then as we go into these sessions in just a little bit, these are sessions to talk about district-wide, a new proposed organizational area. It's not set in stone. It's one that we really want to have the faculty input on. I know one of the questions that should be there, because I wrote it, was, who is here in the room and who is missing in the room? And these discussions are actually going to be led by our college presidents and our EVPs in just a little bit. So that's really important for this opportunity to have faculty input. But before we end, and we really saved a lot of time, so I hope we get a gold star, Marla, is that Hilary had recorded a video for us, and it's about...
It's audio.
Audio, okay.
So I am going to play it. It's about 5 minutes long, and I think she has a really great analogy that sort of sums up our discussion today.
Yes.
What do the following things have in common? Apple, chocolate cream, chicken pot, got it yet? Pecan, yes, it's pie. I'm partial to lemon meringue myself. I bet everyone at our communication table here does not share my preference for lemon meringue. Am I right? Am I right? At first, when we all met to figure out how to move forwards towards Oakland City College, the district asked us to pick one pie flavor. Should we choose the communication curricula of Merit or Laney? We realized, however, that what makes us a strong discipline Peralta-wide is the diversity of our offerings. In other words, our pie has many different flavored slices. Today, I will briefly talk about how the communication chairs at Peralta unlearned some things in order to recognize our combined strengths so we could move forward together. Steve Kerr said, "Effective teamwork requires deeply understanding the motivations and feelings of every team member through open dialogue." These words, stated by our beloved coach of the Golden State Warriors, describe the path our Peralta communication team has forged over the past year. In our efforts to work together towards the common goal of advancing the success of our students, Jennifer, Maha, Mariella, Danielle, and I do a lot of listening and a lot of talking. We don't always agree, but we truly try to understand each other. And through our discussions, we have made better decisions together. As we all approach the transformation of Laney and Merritt into one Oakland City College, while also working with each other to ensure one stronger Peralta district, we have had to overcome many of the things we were taught in the past. Before last year, we were taught to compete with each other for students, resources, and talented faculty. Now, we are being asked to collaborate. It's a shift in the way we think, and we all agree that we want to do the right thing by our students and do what is best for their ultimate success. We know from history that most corporate and educational mergers fail. In fact, something like 80 to 90% do not fulfill their vision nor their promise. If we look at successful corporate mergers, we know the following factors lead to a higher chance of success: clear communication of the vision, preservation of unique cultural strengths, a synergy of complementary strengths, and strong leadership that demonstrates they value all involved in the merger. Failures, which are unfortunately much more common, happen due to culture clashes and mistrust that often lead to the most talented individuals leaving for somewhere they feel valued, power struggles and toxic division, or assuming what customers want without getting real data. So we're only a small part of the equation as chairs of communication at our various schools, and we recognize that we can only focus on our department, our one pie, so to speak. This frees us up to do the best job we can within our discipline. The thing is, we all love our piece of the pie. Being passionate about our students and what we teach makes for intense and sometimes challenging discussions and decision-making. Anytime things get heated, we take a deep breath and we remind each other of the ultimate goal, the success of our students. This tends to get us towards solutions fairly quickly. According to the Change Leader Inc., educational murders are actually harder to pull off than corporate ones. A little less than 1 in 10 work out in the end. When they do succeed, it is due to allowing each school to maintain its identity, both in terms of academics and physical space. Each school is encouraged to preserve its strong identity and what attracted students there to begin with, and encouraging innovation and specializations at each campus. According to transformation experts, the reason most educational mergers fail is because the campuses and buildings are too far gone and in a state of disrepair with struggling morale. Even a well-intentioned merger cannot save 2 weak entities merging into one large, weak entity. But wait, there is a secret sauce that yields success. The secret to success is significant investments into infrastructure, innovation, and talent. It is essential to upgrade facilities and win over students and preserve talented faculty and staff at both locations. Without this, I'm sorry to say we are doomed. Imagine a pie shop in Oakland with 2 locations, one in the Oakland Hills and the other downtown. One location is more convenient for customers who use public transportation. The other has some truly unique pie flavors and a gorgeous backyard patio. Both locations could be successful, but only if the parent company invests in the building, the talent, and the ingredients. No customer wants to walk into a pie shop with dirty windows, a door that's difficult to open, employees who look beaten down or have had their creativity stripped away. Customers want a shop that's clean, with a welcoming environment, the best ingredients, and employees who love what they do. In other words, if this transformation to Oakland City College is going to work, it means that Peralta needs to invest. We need smart classrooms with upgraded equipment that not only works, but helps faculty to innovate. Facilities and campuses, including bathrooms and elevators that are clean and inviting, and a partnership among all stakeholders that delivers success to our students. So, we are going to continue to work together towards making our communication pie the best it can be, and we are advocating and encouraging the Peralta District to recognize the importance of these significant investments so that Laney and Merritt not only become OCC, but that our transformation is successful, as measured by our students' achievements. We want Peralta to be the best pie shop in California, but we can't do it alone.
So with that, I want to thank Mariella and Maha and Jennifer and Daniel and Hilary.
Thank you very
Video.
much. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
And Marla is coming here to tell us the next steps.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, communications crew. That was awesome.